Okay, for those of you who were not here last time, we talked about nutrition and we looked at it from an epigenetic standpoint. And so if you don't remember or if you weren't here, we're going to do a little bit of a review on what we talked about last time. The title of this series is An Old, New, and Living Way. The reason I call it an old, new, and living way is because these principles that we're introducing you to have been around since creation. And so that's why I call it an old and new living way. Okay, these are the principles. They're all found within the first 2 chapters of the book of Genesis. These are all the principles that we want to introduce in this cooking school so that you can have the tools that you need to live healthily and make good decisions. In the beginning, we talked about all this. This is just review of what we talked about last time for those of you who were here. In the beginning, God created Adam and Eve, and from Adam and Eve was the gene pool from which all of us come from, with all our diversities and accents and shades of skin tone and everything. We all came from this initial gene pool. On the ark, there were 2 kinds, 2 cow kinds, 2 dog kinds, 2 horse kinds. And from all of those 2 kinds, we see all the diversity in the animal kingdom. This took place, of course, after sin. Now, this diversity is what we call epigenetics. This is what we introduced last week. The genes within our body are called the genotype. The phenotype is what's actually expressed because of these epigenetic switches that can be turned off and on. And even we can turn off and on the genes for cancer, for heart disease, for different disorders within the body. We talked about how Dr. T. Colin Campbell and Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn have done research to show that the genes, as I said, for cancer, the genes for heart disease, can actually be turned off and turned right back on based on the nutrition, the diet, the lifestyle, all these factors. So these switches on our genes are very powerful. In the book of Leviticus, chapter 17, verse 11, the Bible says that the life of the flesh is in the blood. So the goal of all of these health laws is to produce good blood. The blood is that which nourishes every part of the body. And so if the blood is not clean and healthy, you can't have a healthy body. So these are the principles that we're talking about right here. Last month we talked about nutrition. Tonight we're going to introduce the topic of exercise. These are laws of health. Now what happens if you break a law?
You get in trouble.
You get in trouble, right? Yeah. The curse causeless shall not come. Proverbs 26:2. These are biblical principles. They're scientific principles. So the curse causeless shall not come. We break the law, we get in trouble. We were made to move. So every aspect of our bodies, our minds, spiritually, physically, we were made for activity. And so if we don't move, the sluggard desires and has nothing, but the soul, the diligent shall live. We get what we put into life. Okay, why are we? We're going to dive pretty deep into the pool of genetics tonight, so put on your swimmies if you don't know how to tread water, okay? We're going to go a little deeper into epigenetics tonight. The reason why I'm doing that, the reason why I'm giving you the biblical reasons for choosing this diet and this lifestyle is because I want you to leave here with a biblical imperative for making the decisions that you make to accept this lifestyle and this diet that we're presenting to you. I also want you to leave with a bedrock of good science beneath your feet for making these changes, because you start making some of these changes and your friends and family are going to think you have gone lulu. Okay, so you need a foundation up under your feet, and that's why we're doing this. So what does exercise have to do with epigenetics or with genes? How does exercise affect all this? That's what we're going to dive into tonight. Okay? It all has to do with gene methylation. Here we go. Okay, put on your thinking cap. Now I'm sharing these things not because I'm expecting you to remember everything that we talk about tonight, but I want to introduce this because I want you to see there's scientific fact, scientific reasons for eating kale, for getting out and going for a walk, for scientific reasons. Okay, methylation is the key that unlocks the door to good genes and locks the door on those bad genes. Methylation is actually that process of epigenetics that turns the switches off and turns the switches back on. Okay? It's a vital metabolic process that happens in every cell of every organ millions of times every day. Methylation is a project. You see this C and the 3 H's? That's a methyl group. It's 1 carbon, 3 hydrogens bonded together. That methylation is the process of taking that 1 carbon and 3 hydrogens, known as a methyl group, and applying it to the functions of your body. It's responsible for every thought you think. It's responsible for fighting infections and viruses, all these things. Methylation is vital. The methyl groups can be influenced by whether or not we choose to exercise. It can be affected by what we choose to put in our mouth. That methylation, the DNA methylation, is vital. Okay? That's epigenetics. DNA methylation is epigenetics. The turning off the switch, turning on the switch. Either of diabetes, heart disease, or whatever. Okay? So bear with me with this because we're going somewhere. Okay? Now, unless the neurotransmitter, for example, the neurotransmitter serotonin, unless it is methylated or has this group added to the end of it, it becomes inactive, and that leads to depression. Okay? Now, another thing, homocysteine is a waste byproduct of protein and amino acid metabolism. If homocysteine is not methylated in the body, it becomes very damaging to the body. Okay? But if it is methylated, if it does have this methyl group added to the end of it, it becomes one of the best antioxidants known to man, which is glutathione. That's one of the most powerful antioxidants. And what antioxidants do, they go throughout the body and sweep up the garbage and take it to the liver for dumping. Okay? Stick with me. I know we're getting a little technical. Okay, now we're going to get a little more technical, but you got to stay with me, okay? This is fascinating. At the end, these are chromosomes. You see the picture there. At the end of each chromosome is a little cap of DNA called a telomere, or telomere, some people call them. I like telomere because it tells the gene what to do. Okay, these telomeres protect our genetic codes. Each time a cell divides, a little bit of information is lost from the end of the chromosome. And as they keep dividing, more and more information is lost to the point that if enough information is lost and that telomere disappears, the genes can't divide anymore. Okay? Methylation is important in this because that's what protects the telomeres. It's what helps the telomeres, or the end caps of those chromosomes, the genes, the DNA. It's what protects them. You can actually cause these telomeres to be replenished by exercise, by what you choose to eat. Okay? Or if you live in such a way that these telomeres are not replenished, you can actually cause yourself to develop cancer because your telomeres are not functioning properly. Healthy function of telomeres requires adequate methylation, as I mentioned just a minute ago. And methylation, again, I'm explaining it again here because I want you to kind of grasp it a little bit. Methylation is the chemical process of donating a methyl group, which is 1 carbon and 3 hydrogens, to the genetic material of a telomere, epigenetically marking the telomere for proper function. So this methylation helps the telomeres to function properly, and that in turn helps our genes to have proper information for health. Okay? What does stress have to do with the way these telomeres, how does stress affect the telomeres? Telomere shortness in human beings is a diagnostic or prognostic marker of aging, disease, and premature morbidity. So if your telomeres are shortening, they can study your chromosomes, and if you have little bitty short telomeres, guess what? You don't have much longer. Okay? Your clock is ticking a lot faster than it needs to. Once a telomere is gone, the gene stops replicating, and you know what that means. 6 feet under. Okay, prolonged repeated stress inhibits telomere repair. So if you're under chronic stress, deal with it, because you're shortening your life. You've seen the president, the pictures of all the presidents, you know, when they first take office, maybe they've got a head full of wavy black hair. By the time they're in, they're gray, right? This is prolonged chronic stress, and their telomeres are getting chopped off pretty quickly. But consistent, regular exercise, along with a healthy diet and lifestyle, helps to keep the telomeres vital and in working order much longer. It keeps us younger. One of the things, by the way, in healthy diet that is really important for these telomeres is B vitamins. B vitamins. In fact, one of them, folate. The word folate comes from foliage, which means green leafy vegetables. The big picture. Studies have shown that those who incorporate exercise alone, in other words, you keep eating your Big Macs, but you start exercising, those who do that do not show significant telomere protection. But those who exercise and eat a healthy plant-based diet showed a 30% greater improvement over those who only incorporated exercise. So it takes the package. It takes the big picture, nutrition as well as exercise. In fact, now this is interesting. Researchers have been able to calculate just how much one serving of pork will shorten your telomeres. It's a scientific fact that eating a poor diet will shorten those telomeres, and specifically it was mentioned pork. Isn't that interesting? I thought that was fascinating. Okay, what does exercise have to do with diabetes? Exercise can delay the actual onset of diabetes by boosting the expression of genes involved in muscle oxidation and glucose regulation. DNA methylation drives these changes, and they occur within just a few hours of exercise. So right after you exercise, they can actually tell these changes in the way your body functions. You can turn diabetes off. You can turn the gene for diabetes on by exercise and proper diet. And one scientist, Charlotte Ling from Lund University, said that this not only changes the phenotype or the way the gene is expressed, it changes the gene itself. So that if diabetes runs in your family, your grandma had it, your mama had it, you don't have to give that to your offspring.
Praise the Lord.
Amen. By changing your diet and lifestyle, you can turn that gene off, and your children don't have to inherit that. Isn't that a precious thing? I appreciate that. Okay, more. With diabetes, cells are better able to use insulin and take up glucose during and after exercise. The muscles use glucose better than fat, so ramping up the muscle motors can lower the overall blood glucose levels. I'm going to kind of speed through this because I put more information in here than I really need, and I want to make sure to give Alma time to do what she needs to. Are you depressed? Did you know that exercise increases the production of the feel-good hormone, the endorphins, which is very similar to morphine? But did you know that endorphins, this exercise and the release of endorphins, not only reduces the perception of physical pain, but the perception of emotional pain. So exercise helps you to deal with emotional pain. Endorphins also act as sedatives to induce sound sleep. Everybody smile. Come on. Good, that's better. You just released some endorphins. In fact, somebody posted this on Facebook. I thought it was fascinating. 1 minute of anger weakens your immune system for 4 to 5 hours. 1 minute of laughter boosts the immune system for 24 hours. Isn't that nice? I like this picture. I had to share this. If laughter is the best medicine, then how come people can die laughing? We're producing some endorphins here, so we're lengthening our telomeres. Okay, what about anxiety? Exercise, as we just said, releases beta endorphins. And if we exercise in the sunlight, we produce more endorphins than just exercising in the gym. Okay? So if you're getting that out-of-door exercise, it throws off the chart. The difference between exercising indoors and outside in the sunlight is huge. Exercise increases the amount of GABA, which is a neurotransmitter that calms the brain. So that's why children, you let them outside and play, it kind of helps them to wind down. Even my puppies, when I let them out to play, they crash shortly after that. That's why. Our brain requires a large amount of these methyl groups, this methylation stuff, to maintain a good mood. And chronic stress and depression typically indicate a lack of these methyl donors, meaning that the telomeres are undernourished and prone to accelerated aging. And that's a major reason why stress and depression ages us. Okay, I'm not going to go too much into heart disease because I think most of us know that exercise strengthens the heart, lowers the bad cholesterol, raises the good cholesterol, cleans out the arteries and all that stuff. I think we all know that. But look at this picture of this healthy heart and bear that in mind, because this is a picture of a heart of a person who is obese. The heart muscle is actually practically being strangled by this fat that's around the heart muscle, okay? So it's very important that we not allow this to happen. Now I want to point out something with this picture, because a lot of people say, well, I'm just big boned, so I can carry this weight. This is reality, folks. You see that tiny skeleton carrying all that weight. Obesity is defined as being 20% over your ideal body weight. Exercise and obesity. Methylation that takes place as a result of exercise actually turns off the gene that causes the person to store fat inside the cell. So you can actually change you see families where grandma's heavy, mama's heavy, and the babies look like the little, what do they call it, the little Michelin man. You can turn that off by exercise. What about osteoporosis? Weight-bearing exercise and resistance exercises have been shown to increase bone density. Did you know, this is a fascinating fact, that one little chunk of bone about the size of a matchbox can support 18,000 pounds? Compared to concrete, our bone is 4 times greater in strength. Now, I am very thankful for that fact, because I'm standing on a foot that had a huge rock fall on it about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, I think, from a height of about, 2 feet. And it didn't break my foot. And I'm very grateful for this fact. Very grateful. I have a sore foot, but it didn't break it. Okay, osteoarthritis. Cartilage does not have a direct supply of blood, and so in order for nutrition to go in and waste to go out of the cartilage, it's dependent on motion. Every time we take a step, the synovial fluid in our knees, and it is squished out. And whenever we release that weight, it comes back in. And the motion of exercise is actually what nourishes these joints. Lack of exercise causes the cartilage to deteriorate. The American College of Rheumatology says that exercise is vital for the management of osteoarthritis. It's also vital to strengthen the quadriceps and the hip muscles for osteo. What about cancer? We know that exercise can affect cancer, but let's look at this. By the way, these are our T cells. These are actually our immune cells attacking a cancer cell. That's a cancer cell right there. Exercise improves the quality of life by elevating mood and helping with pain perception. It increases the blood flow and functioning of the immune system. That's vital. It decreases body weight and increases the body's ability to fight cancer. Increases the appetite. Appetite is an issue in many people who have cancer. Insulin resistance promotes cancer. Exercise reduces insulin resistance. And healthy telomeres helps to protect against cancer. Okay, what about the stomach, the GI tract? Physical activity decreases morbidity and mortality of diseases such as irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and moderate exercise improves gastric motility. Now we're talking about moderate exercise. Actually, if you engage in strenuous physical exercise, particularly after a meal, you can actually cause gastric problems, okay? So we're talking about moderate exercise here. All right, what about memory? By engaging in regular aerobic exercise, that's that which increases the heart rate and sweating, you can boost the size of the hippocampus. The hippocampus is that area in the brain. It's a very small area deep in the base of the brain that's responsible for memory and learning. Resistance training and balance and all those things don't have the same result as aerobic exercise. How does that do that? We'll just skip that. Okay, there's something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This is one of the growth hormones. BDNF is a protein that acts on specific areas of the brain and affects our moral decisions as well as our memory. Consistent exercise makes it easier to learn new behaviors and habits as well as recall new information. So the more you exercise, the more you're able to retain and learn and retain new information and form new habits. And that's important because every 4 seconds there's a new patient who's diagnosed with dementia. What about sleep? Exercising 150 minutes over a 1-week period improves quality of sleep by 60%. This is very interesting to me. Eye-hand coordination. Exercise improves eye-hand coordination. Studies have shown that children with autism spectrum disorders don't have good eye-hand coordination. They tend to be kind of clumsy. And I have worked with some people who have this ADD, ADHD, and autism. They are very clumsy individuals. And experiments with occupational therapy exercises have shown that functionality improves with people who, if you exercise with these people, the eye-hand coordination improves. Poor methylation of neurotransmitters can contribute to autism. Can you see how exercise can actually improve kids with ADHD? And I have read studies where if they will take kids out of the classroom, get them off Ritalin and all these things and Focalin, put them outside, get them to exercise, they can come in and sit down and be quiet and learn. It actually does work. Genetics may be the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. Maybe you've heard that before. What about how to exercise? Does it make any difference? Does going for a stroll affect these changes that we've just talked about tonight? If I go for a nice slow stroll, will it methylate
Some.
my genes? Some. I'm glad you said that. Actually, what science has shown is that we need 30 minutes, a block of 30 minutes of exercise with intervals in there where we go all out for 30 seconds. Just 30 seconds. So, for instance, if you're walking for 30 seconds, you walk as fast as you can, uphill if possible. If there's no hill and you can't walk fast, stop and do 30 seconds of push-ups or deep knee bends. Something that gets you out of breath, something that gets your heart rate up, okay? 30 seconds doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're going all out, by the time you hit 20 seconds, you're wondering how long 10 seconds can be. It really does make a difference. It does. And so studies have shown that if you will exercise with this interval training, it has a much greater effect on the methylation rate in your body. Okay, now, interval training reduces the risk of injury. It strengthens our endurance. It reduces the risk of boredom. Do you ever get bored in exercise? Yeah, you do. Going for a walk can be boring for some people. For me, I enjoy it. But what I started doing in my walk until I had this foot injury, I would walk for a while and then I would run for a while. And then I would walk for a while and then I would run for a while. And I can tell you, after I would do that, and especially if I do it in the morning, if I do it in the morning, it just sets the metabolism for the rest of the day. I am wide open. And I get much more accomplished if I do this exercise first thing in the morning. And when I do this interval training, if I run a little bit in my walk and do this all out, it is so much more easy to think and to study and to sit down and have my morning worship or to study this type of stuff. It sticks a lot better. It's also associated with better weight loss. I've talked to I don't know how many people who are walking, there's exercising, they're trying to lose weight, but it won't come off. But when they start with this interval training, where they have this 30 seconds of all out, somehow it turns the metabolic clock up and people are able to lose weight. Yes?
So you do 30 seconds every how long? I mean, you do every 10 minutes, you do the 30 seconds? Or?
What some people say, and I'm glad you asked that, but I'm going to get into it here in just a second. Let me go through this, and if it doesn't answer your question, we'll come back to it. Okay? Here are some suggestions. Be consistent. Exercise the same time every day. Do something that you enjoy, whether that's swimming or rollerblading or walking or gardening. Gardening, by the way, is one of the best interval exercises because 1 minute you're digging and then you're just pushing the wheelbarrow and then you're squatting and up and down. It's complete change, one thing after another. Gardening is a great exercise. Start small, even if it's just 5 minutes. Even if you can only do 5 minutes. Increase slowly in time and intensity. Make it outside. Remember the positive effects of outdoor exercise. Find a partner. That makes a big difference for me. I like to talk. So when I'm exercising, if I have somebody to talk to, it just makes the time pass so much faster. Buy a pedometer if you need to so you can keep accurate track of your progress. These are laws that God put within our body in the beginning. Now, repeat your question.
If you, should you do the 30 seconds every 10 minutes, or do you do it every 5 minutes, or how?
Okay, what is recommended is this. Within a 30-minute period, try to aim for about 6 of those 30-second intervals where you're all out. And some people, they don't even time it. They just, until their body tells them, if I'm running and my body tells me, that's it, stop now. Okay, my legs turn into noodles. That's time for me to stop and rest. I keep moving. My rest is not a complete stop. My rest is just I stop the all out. Okay, so let your body tell you. It will tell you. Okay, I'm running now. I need to stop. So some people do 6 to 8 times within that 30-minute time frame. Do that all out for 30 seconds. Does that make sense? Okay, now. God promised us if we would diligently hearken to His voice and do what's right in His sight and keep His commandments, He would put none of the diseases on us that He put on the Egyptians. What were the diseases of the Egyptians? Who knows?
Cancer.
Cancer.
Heart disease. Heart disease.
Heart disease. They were lifestyle diseases. And so God has promised us, if we will obey these laws of health that were found in the beginning, in these first 2 chapters of the Bible, He will put none of these diseases on us. And exercise is one of them. I know we went a little bit deep in genetics tonight, but I believe that it's important for us to understand that there's a scientific reason for adopting the changes, for adopting the lifestyle that we've recommended in these classes.